Good afternoon, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. Welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily. It is me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here as I am every Wednesday to talk all the midweek pro wrestling news. It's our very good friend, BWO, Brian Wohl. Brian, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Man, it's so great to be here in another week where the entire wrestling industry has been turned on its ear. This is amazing. I can't believe this.
A constant barrage of news in the world of pro wrestling at the moment. You reminded me before we got on the air, it was just like a week ago that like Shane McMahon left WWE, and what? That's just up and gone. No longer the news of the moment, right?
How is this? Like, all of these stories would have been like story of the year any other year. And now it's like, I can't believe every single week there's like something this big. This is crazy. Cody leaving AEW. What?
Cody's out. Steve Austin's in. Shane's out, right? Who's in? Who's out? We're going to get into all of it here today. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Edwin here. Hi, y'all. Thank you. Andrew Cormos, Rob Humphrey, Esteban's here, 2Pro, Furu Games. A lot of great voices here tuning in and jumping in the chat room. Wherever you're at, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, Twitter, whatever it may be, jump in the chat room. Let us know how you're doing today. And let us know what you think of the news. We're going to try to pull your thoughts in here as we go along as well. After the news, of which there is much to discuss, we will dive in the mailbag. And at the end of the show, we're going to save that for the Steve Austin block. That is where we will talk about rumored Steve Austin WrestleMania match and potential opponents for that big WrestleMania match. So strap it, everybody. Let's get going. News you can use. News that will leave a bruise. We're going to start with Cody Rhodes. The Young Bucks changed their Twitter bio to thank God for us yesterday. Somewhat insinuating, I guess, that like thank God for them because they're sticking around. They're going to keep this boat afloat here, I guess, is what they're saying. The Observer, while we're talking about the Bucks, saying that Cody's relationship with the Bucks was more businesslike. The relationship between Bucks, Cody, Kenny was not as bad as has been reported elsewhere, I think alluding to our friend Cassidy Haynes at Body Slam. And no word on the Tony Khan relationship. But there are a lot. And look, I have heard, that Tony and Cody, the relationship frosty at best, I think, towards the end. Kenny and Cody, hate to tell everybody, I don't think they like each other. Cody and the Bucks, again, it's civil, but I wouldn't call that a good relationship by any stretch. Cody was obviously kind of an odd man out in a lot of ways over at AEW. So anyway, first off, anything you want to say about Cody and the Young Bucks or internal drama situation with Cody?
I mean, this is just amazing to hear. You think about where we were with Cody starting All In, and then we get to the formation of AEW. Cody Rhodes was, kind of the face of this company to start out, and then Chris Jericho came along, and that changed things, and then CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole, and then here we have the kind of initial face of the company finding himself as the odd man out, and this is something I never would have expected at all. He has like 2 shows on TNT.
I know.
I was so wrong about this. And I don't think I'm alone, but man, I was wrong.
For a lot of people on the outside looking in, it's very surprising. But again, like this is nothing that caught me off guard here. Cody has been, this entire time has been in a different kind of world than the rest of AEW. And, I've kind of dismissively in the past been like, hey, Vince, I'm tired of working with these indie kids. Can I go back to work for real attitude? But I think there's a bit of that with Cody, right? I mean, he works a different way. He thinks a different way. He operates in a different way. I mean, it's fine for Tony and a lot of people that want to do that style. But if you want to make big money, big money, you want to put on big matches, right now, AEW is great, but the only place to do that really is WWE. And Cody ain't afraid to go back. And now that Vince loves him and respects him properly, I'm sure he's much, much happier. So anyway.
I can't believe these reports that I'm seeing that he's going, but Brandi is not.
That is true. That came to us from Sports Illustrated. That was Justin Barrasso reporting that, Cody looks to be on the way back to WWE without Brandi by his side doesn't mean her in-ring career is over. But look, does that also surprises you that Brandi's not going to be by Cody's side? Why does that surprise you?
I feel like she's always by his side. And like, what does this mean for Rhodes to the top? There's so much.
Oh, I
I'm
think that's
surprised.
done. I mean, that's a Warner product, and he's not with
It is.
AEW. Like, I
Mhm.
think that's done. I think Rhodes to the top. There was reports. I forget exactly who. It's been so many things flying around. I don't have it on my sheet, but they haven't been filming for that show. There's been a crew following, I guess, like Darby Allin, maybe, could be doing something. I mean, certainly, an interesting guy. Very different show, I would imagine, than Rhodes to the Top. But I think Rhodes to the Top is done. And I see the I think it was Meltzer put out here just like a hour or so ago. Like, haven't heard anybody say anything negative about Brandi. She is a lot of people spoke positively of Brandi in AEW.
Yeah.
I've heard mixed. Like, Dave is doing a great job right now of playing PR for all of these people and trying to make them all look good as things just crumble around them right now. So bravo to you in that regard. But Brandi, look, dude, I call a spade, man. Brandi adds, I don't think, anything to Cody's act. I think she takes away from it. I think she's a distraction. She seems like she still seems stiff in her movements, to even after quite a bit of time in the business. I understand the need to want to make money in WWE and do things the right way, but the reason Cody and Brandi were allowed to kind of operate the way they did is because Tony didn't have a leg to stand on when it came to like getting these people through the door to put the company together, right? And so if that's what Cody wants, that's what Cody's going to get, right? So Brandi's going to be around and she's going to be doing things, right? Vince is not going to play that way. And I am not surprised to see Brandi not being included as part of this act. And I'm not to say she can't find success elsewhere or do other things, but I am also not surprised by Brandi Rhodes not being this report that Brandi Rhodes will not be a part of Cody Rhodes' act. No.
Now, I did read another report. I think it was Sports Keeter, maybe. And they said that part of why Cody wanted to leave was that he lost creative control, like booking control.
Well, Andrew Zarian was the one who was talking on the Batman podcast. Sportskeeda doesn't do a lot of original sourcing, by the way. For what it's worth, they're not really a source. But Andrew Zarian at the Batman podcast, he was the one who said that there was like this Forbes article that was written about Tony, and it starts off with Tony talking about how I'm the president and chief creative and the last line and blah, whatever he said, right? And I guess Cody took exception to that because I think Cody probably saw himself as a bit of a leader who maybe deserved more credit than he was being given. And that is where things, I guess, started to buckle a bit. I'd love to go back and find out when that Forbes article went out. And then, of course, the issue of money came up and things kind of spiraled from there. But, you look at Cody, you look at, when Tony was shutting down the EVP creative sessions because everything was getting weird, the last guy, as far as I can gather, that was left to really have any real say in Tony's ear was Cody. Like Kenny, the Bucks, they seem to have had less time in the creative room. Cody is the one that was able to get through to Tony and was crafting things. This is twofold for Vince, right? And we'll get to Vince's plans for Cody here in a second, reportedly. But like, he is not only removing a character off the board, he's removing a character behind the scenes as well. And he's almost getting a 2-for-1 here because you're removing from them the star power of Cody Rhodes, and you're also removing from AEW the guidance and leadership that comes with not only the son of Dusty Rhodes, but somebody who has been in WWE's system and knows how to produce and operate on a high level. Now, granted, they got Punk there and they got Danielson there, so maybe not as big an issue at the moment as it was. But I could see where Cody's frustrations could maybe be if he's not being given credit for things he feels he's doing backstage for the company.
Yeah, that does make sense. Gosh, because now I guess that leads into Vince's plans for Cody. How does Cody slot into the WWE universe? I've been trying to think of where he fits in this picture here because we have we got Roman on SmackDown, we have Lashley on Raw, and then we have these part-timers coming in, like Goldberg, now possibly Steve Austin, The Rock. Where does Cody fit in all this? And also, is Cody going to have any type of booking power in WWE? He clearly had a lot of power. Does he have some sort of involvement in developmental? He had his Nightmare Factory. Is Cody going to be part of NXT 2.0? My imagination's been running wild over these past 24 hours, as you can probably understand.
Let's talk about what Cody could be doing over here in WWE. So Pro Wrestling Torch Wade Keller saying that Vince is planning on giving Cody Rhodes a major match at WrestleMania if he does return to the company. According to Keller, who had 4+ hours of conversations with sources between AEW and WWE, which led him to believe that Rhodes is in fact expected on the WrestleMania card. You could literally pair Cody with anybody. We could get to that here in just a second. But I think that the developmental stuff is interesting. I just kind of want to touch on that real quick since you brought that up. What happens to Nightmare Factory? Great question. Question. Now, I don't know. I would imagine Cody has at least ownership in it, but I think that Ray Lloyd and QT have ownership stake in it as well. Maybe a buyout if QT wanted to just kind of keep that under the AEW umbrella. WWE doesn't really have a need or want, I think, for the Nightmare Factory. So I would think that's going to fall the wayside. But Cody doing stuff with NXT 2.0 is a really interesting proposition. And I don't believe he showed up last night on NXT. Apologies to everybody. Once again, forgot it was on Sci-Fi TV. All right. Yeah. Did see the Creed Brothers one. Good for them. I don't think Cody was on this show. But there was the idea, of course, and I think Raj tweeted about it last night, too, because we were talking about it, that Cody could have hypothetically shown up to present that Dusty Rhodes Cup. Man, what a dynamic with Cody being so outspoken against Hunter and, this throne smash, right? The infamous throne smash. And then they went head-to-head. Cody beat him. The idea of Cody taking over where Triple H failed and Vince praising Cody is the kind of thing of Shakespearean drama. It is really it's quite something to think about, when you put it all in perspective, isn't it?
That's where my imagination's gone. And I'm like, what is he going to, have Cody marry Stephanie or something?
Yeah,
and then it's like the Rhodes and the McMahons.
I wonder too, and I brought this up yesterday, but I can't stop thinking about it. Like, what happens the first time Cody takes a shot at AEW or references it, and you got Tony, Punk, Braun, all these Eddie Kingston, just ready for it like a pack of dogs. Because I've heard the AEW talent. Not supposed to be talking about this right now. Wardlow did get asked about it in an interview, and that's up on the site. But I think that's the only person in a minute. I don't think WWE people, I haven't heard anything about them not being able to talk about it, but very weird. A no Cody directive. It would no Cody talk directive, possibly to both rosters. We don't want anybody to talk about Cody right now,
Man, what a crazy scenario this is. I mean, do you think Cody shows up at Crown Jewel? Crown Jewel, Elimination Chamber. I mean, that seems very plausible to me.
Yeah. I like Eddie Zamhari here saying Cody versus Rollins at Mania could be a perfect match since Rollins is not involved in the card yet. Also, since Rollins is Triple H, since Seth Rollins is Triple H and the conditioner that Hunter is in right now. So that would be a great opponent, right? Yesterday, EJ was advocating for Miz. He thought it would be great. We don't really know if they want to position him as a babyface or heel. My gut says babyface, right?
Oh, yes. 100%. Cody wants to be a babyface. He really does want to be a babyface. That's, he really, in that last promo he gave on Dynamite, it really felt like one last ditch effort to be a babyface.
Yeah.
Didn't work out.
Yeah, the fans weren't there for them. And what I'm interested in too is like, will the fans be there for Cody in WWE? Is it that different of a fan base? Is he going to get a different reaction? I guess we'll find out. But yeah, Seth Rollins would be great. Miz, I don't think he'll be a Chamber unless, I'm not saying he won't. He could, right? But I think they kind of have their plans for Chamber. Whatever's going to happen with Cody, I think happens after Chamber, like the Monday after the Chamber, to kind of get going into WrestleMania proper, right? That's my gut. I don't know nothing for nothing about this particular item, but that's what my gut says.
That's a very interesting thought because Raw comes back to USA this week, right? Because Olympics are done.
It does, yes. It's been on Sci-Fi last 2 weeks. It's been the first time they're back, and their ratings, for what it's worth, their viewership has been surprisingly consistent over on Sci-Fi as compared to what they were doing on USA. A real testament to how that audience is. That audience is far more loyal than I think a lot of jaded IWC members would like to believe.
Oh yeah, I think WWE proved some really huge staying power with the numbers they delivered on Sci-Fi, as opposed to USA, which has like twice the distribution. That's crazy that the fans travel to Sci-Fi. That's awesome. And so when Raw's contract is up, boy, it's going to be a very, very enticing product. And I feel I tweeted this yesterday. I feel like they're still in a position to sell WWE down the line. And I feel like Cody always has his eye on something bigger, not just wrestling. And WWE's partnership with Disney really looks like the most logical thing. We had The Rock opening the Super Bowl, doing a wrestling style promo. I feel, and Rock is clearly Disney's #1 box office star right now. There is a lot of corporate synergy opportunities here, and I feel like that is something that's very possible down the line.
Yeah, and Ethan Johnson saying Monday is Raw 1500. It would be a perfect scenario for Cody to debut, and Raw seems like the much more open brand for Cody to come back on. Roman is very much tied up with Brock. Keep Cody and Roman separate, and then once Roman definitively slays the beast at WrestleMania, which is what I think will likely happen as we roll into the next year and hopefully the big match with Rock, Cody would be a real fun kind of interim opponent to kind of get one over on Roman coming out of Mania season.
Oh yeah, man, it's so fascinating. And also, we're looking at who could really be the great heel to face babyface Cody Rhodes, and Roman Reigns, #1 heel in WWE right now. That would be tremendous.
Yeah, and Keith, you're saying we know Cody can still put on a heck of a match, especially after fighting Sammy for the TNT title. And yeah, Seth Rollins makes a lot of sense too. But like, man, they have stumbled into something with Austin Theory and Vince. And, there was all this stuff in the Pro Wrestling Torch Report with Wade about how Vince is like, he sees this as a real coup for them. It's going to be great PR for them. One of the founders of their competition, a guy who just held their secondary title. He's coming into WWE. They want to take full advantage of this thing right now. Cody versus Vince seems like not a terrible route, right? But you don't have to obviously put Vince in the ring.
Okay.
But if Cody wants to have a banger, Austin Theory, that's his thing right now, right? He's the young, hot gun, and who wants to stick up and prove a point to Daddy Vince, how great he is, and to beat the competition, right? I think Cody could still go over there and look good, but that way you could still have Vince and Cody kind of in the same area, space around each other, and ultimately get a pretty good bout when the time comes,
That's a great idea. I'm not a huge Austin Theory fan, but I can't deny his wrestling ability. He's tremendous.
I like Keith here saying Austin Theory versus Cody, amazing. We have Buscat, Vince versus Cody by way of Theory, book it. And then of course Rob Humphrey, no Nick, that's a terrible route. I'm not saying Vince needs to get in the ring, So, all right. By the way, he's okay. All right. I can see it. I thought you would have put Vince in there. No. Vince would work in a Freddie Blassie type role. Sitting ringside with his cane, sending the young buck out there.
Could he have a sparkly jacket? I want a sparkly jacket.
I'm going to send my young buck to beat you, Cody Rhodes. Come on now. That's right. You think you're the alpha and the omega? There is only one omega. Me, Vince McMahon.
Oh, man.
There's only one.
WWE creative has got to bring you in.
Oh, man. First one to make a con man joke, with these two. So that's an option. There's a lot of options out there. We could speculate all day long about Cody. So great talk about Cody here. The Observer also saying, by the way, that Jericho had his option picked up by AEW. They signed him to a 2-year contract extension back in January. So his deal now is going to run to 2024. Khan had options to extend deals for many of the major stars. Young Bucks and Kazarian had theirs picked up. Obviously, Cody's did not. I don't really know how that contract worked. Like, Tony didn't pick up the option, but he could. But there was also renegotiating for more money. I feel like there's a lot we do not know about what happened here with Cody and Tony.
Yeah, this seems incredibly layered and complex. This is juicy. This is like the juiciest gossip. I feel like we are deep in the chisme here.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and you know what? If you tuned in yesterday, I said the one to watch after Cody was Jericho, and this is, I tend to believe this. Cody or Jericho's getting booked right now. The Inner Circle stuff breaking up, single star. If they've got him another 1.5 or 2 years, run out the clock with him as a singles competitor. The Inner Circle stuff has just gotten so muddled and convoluted anyway. I guess you could use him in that capacity. So I don't really know what there's left to do for Chris in AEW though. Punk match, Brian match, I guess at this point,
Yeah, and also, you can turn him heel again, have him do Painmaker stuff. Chris Jericho is always reinventing himself, so I have tremendous amount of faith in Chris Jericho being able to get over again in a new way.
Yeah, and Ali Pashi, by the way, says hello from Denmark. Hey, thanks, Ali, for joining us from Denmark. Love that. We are going to talk about Steve Austin here in just a minute and the latest on his potential WrestleMania match. But the Observer also saying that WWE is actually planning another Steve Austin level surprise for WrestleMania 38. Not known which wrestler could be stepping into the ring for a match or if they would just be appearing on the show. Realistically, it's like a short list. Taker, Rock, Batista. I don't know. Who do you think this could be?
Yeah, I mean, who's at Steve Austin level, really? Yeah, for me, the option is only The Rock. Batista, maybe, but I doubt it. What would we do with him? Taker has a connection to Texas, deep connection to Texas.
Oh,
another name out there that's deep connection to Texas, Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels coming back for one more match would be really cool. Shawn, I don't know, maybe. Could be Shawn. Taker makes a lot. Well, and Shawn San Antonio connection, so yeah. Taker makes the most sense to me. You have somebody call out and piss off Mark Calloway, the man, right? Undertaker doesn't come out. You have Mark Calloway come out for one more match, and you put him in the Hall of Fame the night before. I think that's a very more than fitting tribute. There's gonna be 100,000 people. This guy's last match was in front of nobody, 0. I would think that guy would want to feel that one more time on his terms. Go out where he loves Texas. Go out in a big way. That's just me. I don't know.
I mean, there's also possibly John Cena.
There is John Cena. Yeah,
he did just get Peacemaker did just get renewed for a season 2, so I don't know if he's going to start shooting that yet or how that goes, but maybe.
Yeah.
Peacemaker's awesome, by the way. If you're not watching Peacemaker,
I kind of fell off in the 4th episode. I was like, this is kind of dumb. I don't really. Liz and I almost at the same time. He made some joke, and we just kind of looked at each other. It was like, do we want to watch this? We turned it off. I was like, I don't know.
Man, I'm into that kind of dumb.
I guess I need to watch it. I got to try to watch it again. I feel like I maybe have stopped too soon. I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts about it. So lastly here, we'll get back to Steve Austin here in just a second because I feel like there's a whole different tangent that we just kind of opened up here I want to get back to. But WWE has announced NXT Level Up. It's going to replace 205 Live. Quinn McKay from Ring of Honor, she's going to be the ring announcer, which I think is great. This show is going to go on at 10 p.m. Eastern, Friday nights on Peacock. head to head with AEW Rampage. It never stops. Never stops.
Why? Why? Why would you need to do this? It's so bonkers to me.
Hey, 205 Live was a dated concept, man. Like I is dumb. Something else needed to go in there.
Yeah, but why do you need to go head to head with Rampage? There's no need.
There is absolutely a need. You're trying to hurt your competition. You're trying to peel off 50,000 viewers or something like that. That they're gonna watch a Peacock product and not the AEW stuff.
Why don't you just pick a different night? You can get it more folks anyway.
That's not the point. The point is to hurt your opponent. They're trying to hurt AEW with this move, just like they did before with the other NXT, you know?
But it didn't work.
No, it didn't. But they're not trying to beat Rampage now. They're just trying to take a little piece. They're just trying to take the right Jenga tile away, you know?
I don't understand how that is a good business strategy. I feel like it's just being vindictive.
Rob Humphreys says jokes on WWE, Peacock never works. And that's true. That is a real hurdle to trying to compete with your competition. A functional platform would make that battle much better for you, wouldn't it?
How is Peacock still this bad? They should have just put NBC stuff on WWE Network. That was a better platform.
So wait, John Falseta saying, wasn't that 205 Live spot first? I don't know. I don't know when 205 Live aired. If it was going head to head with Rampage, I did not know. I do know NXT Level Up will be going head to head with Rampage. There you go. Laying it all on the line, right? So,
what a crazy week of news. This is crazy.
All right. Well, Brian, I want to thank you for joining me at Top Show Talk. All the news today. No interview here today. We're going to have tomorrow, big audio. I'll tell you about it at the end of the show. But for now, let's dive to the mailbag at Wink Daily, WINC Daily. That's the account to follow if you want to vote in our daily polls. Let your voice be heard outside of the comment section. So today's poll question comes from a couple things. Now, first of all, the Observer saying Steve Austin versus Kevin Owens, that's the match that is planned for WrestleMania. Now, the Matman podcast, Andrew Zarian, put out the idea we could also maybe get a Steve Austin Goldberg match, not necessarily at WrestleMania, because Andrew is saying Steve Austin could be coming back for maybe more than one match, like maybe a Steve Austin run. How old is Steve Austin? I'm going to look this up. How old do you think he is?
I think he's early 50s, like 52. So
he is 57 years old.
Oh, wow. He looks great.
How old is Sting? How old is Sting?
I thought Sting was 54.
Sting is 62.
Oh, my God.
You were... Sting is 52 or 62.
Oh, my God. Well...
You know what?
I just out Stone Cold. Go ahead.
I don't think Sting has had fusion neck surgery, but it's been 17 years, and man, so he's got a ring set up in his backyard. That we can confirm from High Spot. So he is training. The Owens match is fine. I think it's good. Pair him up with somebody young. Obviously, Stunner versus Stunner. Okay. The Goldberg thing, that's going to be like a Saudi match. That's going to be like something for MBS to just sit there and drool over,
God, I don't know how Stone Cold can do that match after he saw Goldberg versus Undertaker. After seeing that one, I'd be like, I'm going to let Goldberg do his own thing.
Totally. Steve Austin, Roman Reigns? Is that a crazy thing to think about now?
It'd be safer than Goldberg, but...
Yeah. Oof. Christopher Simmons, you're saying, I want to see Austin stun Roman. All right. Well, our poll was pretty much a blowout. We had over 400 votes, 72.71 Kevin Owens, 12.4 Goldberg, 8% Undertaker, 6.8% everybody else. So don't even really need to dive into the comment section. It's largely just pro Kevin Owens stuff. And hey, give the people what they want. I guess this is going to be a great chance for Kevin Owens to get some attention on himself, have a big moment at WrestleMania, it looks like. Hopefully, if everything comes together.
I think so, and I think Kevin can get a great match out of Stone Cold. The way the way AEW has been booking Sting, it's made me a lot more open to this concept. It's very possible that WWE could follow that pattern for Stone Cold and make him look like a star.
Mhm.
It's very possible, and I believe in it a lot more than I would have a year ago.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, we're gonna wrap it up there for today. I'm gonna be back here tomorrow. I'm gonna be joined by Paul Pratt, aka Polio Del Mar. Also on the show here tomorrow, finally gonna roll it out. The full audio from my C2E2 panel. Maybe I'll do half audio tomorrow, half audio on Friday, but the whole video for sure I'm gonna put up on YouTube tomorrow. The C2E2 panel I did with Matt Cardona, Ken Anderson. Great talk, brought to you by Headlock Comics. We're going to have some posts going up on the site with some of their comments as well. So come back tomorrow for that. Support the Wrestling Inc. Daily on any podcast platform you like. SupportWrestlingInc.com. And come back here tonight right after AEW Dynamite to catch the Wrestling Inc. podcast, which is like this, but it's just different people and it's at night. And it's a lot of fun. You'll enjoy it quite a bit. Just like this show, which Esteban says, nice work, gentlemen. Well, thank you very much. Brian, what do you want to put over here before we wrap up the show today?
Gosh, man, Nick, thank you for keeping this stuff together. This was a crazy show today. I gotta tell you, man, you being able to steer this ship today was something, because these are so many different news points from so many different sources, and for you to have this organized today, wow.
gotta do my best to keep the finger on the pulse, because
Wow.
I know a lot of people read the site and you want to get everything as it happens and you want it to be accurate. We do our best to facilitate that for you in a professional and fun way. So I appreciate you saying that, Brian.
Yeah, what a day, and you really you pulled it together for this. Oh, yeah.
Dave, this started at 9
my
a.m.
God.
Central yesterday when Cody put out a statement, and it kind of started on Monday night when Dave was like, hey, people at Raw are talking about how Cody's coming back. That's pretty weird, right? All right. Well, that's it for us. I'm at Nick_Hausman. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss.